this wasn't even a topic that was going to be on my radar. It's more so concerning towards her in particular, but I was going to talk about it, but under the guise of someone else, and I'm going to mention that person in this video. But it's amazing how it came about, because my video I had premiered about Tay Diggs. I had a lot of people leave comments talking about, how, it's funny he says this, considering at one point he was married to a white woman. He had a child with the woman, and then that child would be deemed mixed and or biracial. Then I got a notification from Kimberly Frazier and Lovely T almost at the same time, talking about this woman that you see in this picture. Now, y'all don't know who this is. This is Karrueche Tran. How she blew up, basically because she was one of the lucky women that ended up with Chris Brown at some point in time. And now she is currently dating Victor Cruz, who played for the New York Giants. And that's pretty, and then she's on this show that comes on TNT called Claws, and that's pretty much all she's really known for. But she's also known for something else as well, but I'm gonna get into that a little bit later. So Karrueche Tran is half black, half Asian. And really, to be honest, she really clinged on to the black community mainly because of her being with Chris Brown. We all knew that she had to have some Asian in her, mainly because of that last name. And then when you look at her features, you can kind of see the Asian phenotype right there all over her face. And a lot of people will say that she was a fairly attractive woman until she starts to open up her mouth. So the reason why people are going in on her right now, especially black people in particular, is because of this whole Wuhan situation. So she went out on her social media, I believe it may have been Instagram, and she was basically talking about the quote unquote anti-Asian xenophobia that's going on because of how people are talking about the Asian community, specifically Chinese, about this virus that is floating around, and basically putting the blame onto them as to, about the virus. And I would say that the blame is being shifted into the right direction. This is probably one of the biggest wake-up calls that the Asian community will ever get. All at one fell swoop at that. Now, this woman who clinged on to the black community by way of Chris Brown mostly, never says anything about the atrocities that black people face in America. And if I did not look at Lovely T's video, I would have not known about this part that I'm about to mention to you. A few years ago, when 106 in Park was still on TV, they were talking about, or they were making up like a game or something like that, and they were talking about Blue Ivy. At the time, she was still a toddler. And one of the guys who was, I guess, hosting had basically asked her a question, and it was like one of those fill in the blank type things, and she basically made fun of Blue Ivy's hair. There was a time where you had a lot of self-hating black women that were making fun of that girl's hair. And mind you, she was just a baby at the time. I'm like, sheesh. And I'm like, y'all just mad because her hair is in her natural state, and y'all gotta cover it up with a wig and a weave. They did the same thing with Gabby Douglas back in 2012 when she was competing in the London Olympics. I'm like, this girl is tumbling all over the place and winning gold medals, and y'all only gripe with her is that her hair needs to look better. It's clear and obvious that none of you are athletes. They're not there to walk in a fashion show. They're not there to walk a red carpet. They are there to compete and win to represent their nation. And that pissed a lot of people, myself included, off. I'm like, y'all are talking ill about this girl who is doing amazing things. But I mean, I guess. But going back to Karrueche, she made fun of a little girl in her hair. Now, like I said, she's half black herself. And I'm willing to bet that if this woman was to blow out her hair, it would look just like that. But of course, she's probably put processes and chemicals in it to make it look more fine. Of course, she issued an apology, but I believe that's probably because she was forced to do so. And like her, and like the Gabby Douglas situation, there were other black women who were making fun of Blue Ivy's hair at the same time. So it was like the self-hate ran deep at that time period, and nobody, and I mean nobody, can say they didn't see it. Those who were around at the time. But anyway, back to the topic at hand. I just had to reach back and bring that up. So she's went on there and she's talking about this anti-Asian xenophobia stuff. And she's not the only one, because I saw Shuck and Jive D doing the same thing. I saw a South African Pastor Pork Chop do the same thing, and some other holier than thou random Christian black guy do the same thing on Twitter. And then with the last two that I mentioned, they had the nerve when people went at them in their comment section to say, oh great, now I'm about to be attacked by Russian bots. I wonder where they got that from. So they felt that the people that was coming at them were a bunch of Russian bot troll type individuals. I said, what a cover. That still didn't get us to stop them, because guess what? Both of them, they deleted them tweets. I can't even find them anymore, because that's what I was going to talk about in particular. But since she came up, I said I can lead into it with that. But it's interesting that she's talking about this situation right here, but she's not going to talk about the atrocities that have come from the Asia community that has affected black people. Let's reach back a little bit to 1991, when you had that Asian woman kill Latasha Hall and shoot her in the back of the head as she was walking out the store because she claimed she was stealing an orange juice that she put the money on the counter to pay for, and nothing happened to her. You had, and I just talked about this, you had Peter Liang, who shot and killed Akai Gurley and pretty much got away with it right at the last second, and had the entire Asian community come out and protest why he should be innocent. And I bet you Karrueche was probably one of the ones from a distance who was protesting in his defense. You have China, who is now invading, whether they are willingly invading or unwillingly invading the continent right now, probably carrying that Wuhan with them over there. And another one, and this is a huge one right here, and I never got a chance to do a video about it, but I actually saw the footage, and it made my blood boil, where you had this black man over in one of those Asian countries, and I believe he was dating an Asian woman from there. Those Asians were so pissed that this man was dating one of their women that they literally beat him to death, and it was recorded. Like, the video might be floating around somewhere on the internet. They beat him to death, and they recorded him being beaten to death. And even after he was dead from being beaten to death, they were still hitting him. They were beating a dead body at that point. And to my knowledge, nothing happened to any of the guys that were involved. It was like looking at a more intense version of the Rodney King beating. And based on also things that I've heard, a lot of Asians over there, they practice a lot, and I do mean a lot, of anti-black racism. If you don't look like Obama, or someone who is of a lighter skin tone that they feel is the quote unquote safe Negro, they look at them, many of them treat you very, very distant. That will be real standoffish to you. I've even heard where some of those translations that, those markings they see up on the wall, they said, get you a good translator if you're over there, and you'll see some of the stuff that they have to say about us. And then also think about all the stuff that how they treat us, or mainly black women who choose to keep going there, in those nail shops and in those hair stores. I talked about this in my Hold Your Own Wontons video. And Karrueche, to my knowledge, has never, ever, ever spoken about any of those things that I just mentioned. Not even one time, to my knowledge. But now she has something to say. That shows you where her allegiance leans more toward. sometimes I go back and forth with my subscribers when they talk about the whole biracial and mixed people thing like that, because sometimes I guess I'm trying to play devil's advocate. But when I see and hear situations like this, then I start to kind of understand why they say that. It's not that they want to be facetious or they're just pulling it out of thin air. It's because for the most part, it's true. Look at Tiger Woods. That man will never claim his blackness. He will forever say he's Caucasian. However, the only thing that has ever claimed his blackness is that mugshot from when he got caught with that DUI a couple years ago. That thing said B for black, not C for Caucasian. And I made sure when I saw that, I made a video about it and I clowned him too. That I said the reason why he looks like that in that mugshot is not because he was tired, it's because he was upset because they put a B there instead of a C. And the same thing will happen to Karrueche. If she was to ever have some kind of incident where she basically, how can I put it, got into some situation, how much you want to bet they would put B down there for black rather than A for Asian? I'm willing to bet that's probably is how, unless that's how she identifies on maybe say her driver's license or any other documents that she's ever had to sign. That'll let you know which way many of them lean toward. That's why on many applications now, they will have you say 2 or more races. At one time, you never saw that as a category. That recently started to pop up. At one point, you had to fill that in or check the box that said other. But yeah, Karrueche, you and the rest of that community can hold your own wontons while dealing with this Wuhan. And if Karrueche, you feel so strongly about what's going on and you feel you need to stand on that front line, then maybe you need to find a way to get yourself a first class ticket from the States all the way to China and see how they receive you there. Oh, but I forgot you can't. They just put a level 4 travel ban in place so you can't even leave the establishment. Oh, well, it is what it is. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure you follow me on Twitter if you haven't done so already. Have your notifications turned on, and I will talk to you in the next one.